Hey guys, welcome to Refocus. Today we're going to meld into a fog cloud as we talk about this iconic spell in DC20, D&D 5th edition, and Pathfinder 2nd edition. So come with me as we take a look at all three versions. The first one that I wanted to take a look at is the DC20 version. This is a conjuration spell with a cost of 2 action points and a mana point, a range of 20 spaces, which is 100 feet, a duration of an hour requiring concentration. As is custom in DC20, it requires a DC10 spell check. On a success, you create a sphere of fog with up to 4 space radius, so that's a 20-foot radius, centered on a point within range. Each success 5 over that DC of 10 increases the radius by 1 space or another 5 feet. Failure, you only create a 3 space radius or 15-foot area. The sphere spreads around corners and its area is fully concealed. Creatures within 1 space of each other can see each other normally, and wind can blow the fog cloud away. There's a mana point enhancement where you can spend 1 extra mana point to increase the radius of the spell by 3 spaces or by 15 feet, and up to your mana spend limit, which is half of your level, is how many extra mana you could spend on the spell, increasing the size of the area by 3 spaces per mana that you have available to spend. One thing that is important to look at here is the blinded condition. So let's take a look at that quick. For DC 20, you automatically fail checks that require sight, and all other creatures are considered unseen. You are exposed, attacks against you have advantage, and hindered, you have disadvantage on attacks. Additionally, while you're not guided by another creature, all terrain is difficult to you. Moving 1 space costs 2 spaces. So, important to note that while you're within the fog cloud, that you are exposed to attacks and you are hindered, but people trying to see you inside the cloud would also be attacking you at disadvantage, or they also would not be able to see you unless they were within 1 space of you. So when we look at the D&D 5th edition version, we see a casting time of 1 action, a range of 120 feet. It's concentration up to an hour, and you create a 20-foot radius sphere of fog centered on a point within range. The sphere spreads around corners, and its area is heavily obscured. It lasts for the duration or until a wind of moderate or greater speed disperses it, and at higher levels, when you cast the spell using a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, the radius of the fog increases by 20 feet for each slot above 1st. The important thing to notice here is heavily obscured, and what that does for mechanically in 5th edition is disadvantage on attack rolls. So usually people would cast this to balance out if somebody had advantage from a source. This would remove that advantage. It also allows you to move away without provoking opportunity attacks, because of the wordage for opportunity attacks requires you to see the target. So we look at the Pathfinder 2nd edition version. We see that it casts for 3 actions with a range of 120 feet, 20-foot burst, and the duration of just 1 minute. You call forth a cloud of mist. All creatures within the mist become concealed, and all creatures outside the mist become concealed to creatures within it. You can dismiss the cloud. Dismissing takes an action. The important thing here is the mechanical benefit of concealed, which is in order to target a creature that's concealed by the mist, you would have to make a DC 5 flat check. So you would just roll a D20 and you would have to get above a 5. And if you did, then you could target them normally. So this is good for avoiding damage. And my final thoughts on the 3 versions of these spells. So we see on this chart here that the action costs between the DC20 version and the D&D 5e version are pretty close. Because of the fact that in DC20 you have 4 action points, spending 2 of them on Fog Cloud is probably comparable to spending your 1 action in D&D 5th edition. The 3 actions required in the Pathfinder 2nd edition version I think is a little crushing. That means that you don't have any actions to move or cast anything else or do anything else. So your entire turn, if you cast Mist, is just casting Mist. The resource cost for D&D 5th edition of first level spell slot, pretty comparable to the 1 mana point from DC 20, except that at first level a DC 20 spellcaster has 6 mana points versus the 2 first level spell slots available to a 5th edition spellcaster. So you're going to get a lot more use out of this Fog Cloud than you would the 5th edition version. And then even as you level up, you're pretty much gaining 3 mana almost every level in DC 20. So that is way outpacing the number of spell slots that you have in D&D 5e. Pathfinder 2nd edition, requiring a 2nd level spell slot. Again, more punishing than the D&D 5th edition version or the DC 20 version. The range, 120 feet on the D&D 5e version and the Pathfinder 2nd edition version. Of course, only 100 feet out of the DC 20 version. But truthfully, 100 feet is probably fine. Duration, D&D 5e and DC 20 with an hour with concentration. Pathfinder 2nd edition, 1 minute. I mean, it's clear to see that when it comes to duration, the D&D 5th edition version and the DC 20 version both clearly outclass the Pathfinder 2nd edition version. Upcast enhancements. When you 5th edition, when you cast this spell using a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, the radius of the fog increases by 20 feet for each slot above 1st. DC 20, the area of effect, spend 1 MP to increase the radius by 15 feet. So you are getting a bigger area increase out of the spell slots from D&D 5th edition, but you have more mana to spend on the upcasts in DC 20, and a 5-foot difference is not going to make that much of an impact probably. And Pathfinder 2nd edition, no upcast options. For the description of the spell, they're all pretty similar as far as what they do. They're creating pretty much a 20-foot area of concealment. It just really comes down to mechanically what do they do. And mechanically, the Pathfinder 2nd edition version I think has the weakest advantage of it all. There is that flat check where you need a 5 or higher or you can't target them. It can cause some attacks to miss, but I don't think it's as punishing as having disadvantage, and also avoiding the attacks of opportunity from D&D 5e. It's possible, I'm not 100% that being in a cloud in the mist will prevent opportunity attacks. I would have to look deeper in that for Pathfinder 2nd edition, although most creatures don't have attacks of opportunity in Pathfinder 2nd edition, so I didn't actually dig too deep into that. For DC 20, I feel like the mechanically what it does is much stronger, in that fully concealed giving the blinded condition is very strong. You automatically fail checks that require sight, and you're exposed and hindered. And then also causing difficult terrain, which neither of the other two cause difficult terrain. I also think that it's cool that in the DC20 version, if you're within one space of each other, you can see each other. Because if you were in fog and you were within 5 feet or less of each other, odds are you can probably see each other. And then you would also be able to act normally. So, that is my final thoughts on Fog Cloud. I thank you for joining me on this refocus. I'm refocused, and I hope you are ready to face your next adventure too. Take care. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content that you just saw, consider joining one of our games at startplaying.gaming/roll with us DMs.